Did Jesus really exist? Is Jesus just a made-up story that went worldwide? I mean, are we really meant to believe that he is the Son of God? That he was born of the Virgin Mary? That he did miracles? That he rose again from the dead? Well, they're some fair questions because those things don't just happen. But on the flip side of those questions regarding his existence, if he really did exist, if he really did those things, then investigating him might change everything for you. Are you willing to do that? Did you know that there's evidence for Jesus outside of the Bible? There are records by the Roman historian Tacitus. He spoke of a man named Jesus who was crucified by Pontius Pilate. And after his death, the deadly superstition of Christianity spread. There are other records outside of the Bible too. A Jewish historian named Josephus wrote in 90 AD, "Now about this time, Jesus, a wise man, if it be lawful to call him a wise man, for he was a doer of baffling deeds, a teacher of such men as received the truth with pleasure. He drew over to him both many Jews and many Gentiles. He was perhaps the Christ." So even if we didn't have the Bible, we can read from other sources that there was a man named Jesus. There was a man named Jesus who caused a bit of a stir and did some baffling deeds. Then there's the Bible itself. Some say that the Bible is just a carefully crafted, made-up story about Jesus to trick people into believing in him. But I would argue differently. If you wanted to make up a story to trick people into believing, you wouldn't put half the stuff that is actually in there. From the first witnesses to the tomb, the empty tomb of Jesus, they were women. And if you know anything about that time, is that a woman's testimony wasn't valid. So if you're making it up, you wouldn't put that in there. There are embarrassing moments of the disciples, raw and out there for everyone to see. You know, there was times, real questions that they had about Jesus. They didn't just go, "Oh yes, let's follow Jesus." They had many questions. There were embarrassing moments, denying Jesus, doubting who he was, doubting that he was alive. It's in there because it happened. But here's the thing. As you read on into the New Testament, we see the transformed lives of those disciples. They go from being cowards in hiding to being ready to die for Jesus and to take this message of salvation out into the world. What changed? Why did Christianity just explode onto the world scene? Well, when they met the resurrected Jesus, they were changed men. They were ready to die for this message. In fact, many of them kept preaching Jesus until their death. Why would you do that if this was all made up? Many of them suffered horrible deaths. Why would you do that if it was all made up? What would you have to gain? It's very unlikely that they would do all those things for something that was just made up. You know, if this really is true, if Jesus really is the Son of God, you would expect him to do some of those things. If Jesus really is who he says he is, if he really did calm the storm, if he really did raise a little girl from the dead, if he really did die for your sin to bring you back into a relationship with God, if he really did rise again from the dead, then what do you have to lose by checking him out further? Nothing. But you may have very well everything to gain.